Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. We are diving into the BUA Refinery project in Akwa Ibom, Nigeria today.
Okay.
And, we had a lot of people reach out to us saying, hey, can you guys give us the download on this?
Yeah.
There's been some, conflicting information going around.
Right.
And it is a pretty big deal, this refinery. It could really, change things up for Nigeria's fuel production
Yeah.
and economy.
It really could have a huge impact if everything goes according to plan.
Yeah. So let's kind of go through and see what we know.
Mm.
One report that came out said that it was 90% complete.
Wow.
Which I gotta say sounded a little
A little optimistic.
yeah, maybe too good to be true.
Yeah.
And then BUA Group actually officially came out and said, no, that's not true.
Right.
Which, I have to admit, made me a little nervous.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's understandable to be a little concerned when you see that kind of denial,
Yeah.
especially with the project of this scale. I mean, these things are massive.
It's huge. Yeah.
But the way that BUA Group handled it, I think, is really important. They didn't just say, no, that's wrong.
Yeah.
They specifically said, hey, go to our official channels for accurate updates.
Yeah.
So they're being pretty transparent, it seems.
Yeah, and I did see that, and I went to their statement, and it was actually really reassuring. They said, and this is a quote,
Okay.
whilst the refinery is not at 90% completion, we are, however, on track to meet our delivery timelines in collaboration with our partners.
That's a very carefully worded statement.
Yes, very much so.
I think that's really key for a couple reasons. First, it confirms that they're not as far along as maybe some people were thinking.
Right.
But they are still confident that they're going to meet those deadlines that they've set.
Right.
And second, the way they emphasize that collaboration with our partners, it just kind of gives you a little insight into how complicated these projects are.
It's not just them,
It's not just BUA Group out there with a hammer and nails.
Right.
I mean, you've got this whole network of stakeholders
Oh, yeah.
all working together to try to make this thing actually happen.
It's a multi-billion-dollar project.
Yeah, it's a huge deal.
And speaking of large-scale projects, this isn't BUA Group's first rodeo.
That's right. This is not their first time at the radio.
Yeah, they've got a pretty impressive track record.
They do. They've publicly said that they've delivered over $3.5 billion worth of projects just in the last decade.
Wow.
That's not just putting up a couple of buildings.
Yeah, that's a lot of projects.
That's a statement to their experience in handling these really complicated,
Right.
capital-intensive projects.
And being able to work through those challenges.
Right, because every project of that size runs into problems.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not if, it's when.
Right. And it's one thing to say, okay, we're going to do this huge project.
Yeah.
But then actually getting it done is a whole other thing.
Totally. Yeah.
And they even highlighted that in their statement. They said they're committed to transparency.
Right.
They're going to be providing updates as they hit milestones.
Which is great for building trust.
Yeah, which I think is really important.
Mm-hmm.
So we know they're on track, but this BUA refinery is not the only new development in Nigeria's refining sector, is it?
No, not at all. Actually, it's kind of a crazy time for refining in Nigeria.
It is.
Remember the Dangote refinery we talked about before?
Oh, yeah.
That actually started production in early 2024.
Wow. I'd actually almost forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they started rolling out petrol in September of that year.
Right. They are up and running.
That's wild.
And then you've got those state-owned refineries in Port Harcourt and Warri
Right.
that were basically out of commission for years.
Yeah, they were basically just sitting there.
Just kind of rusting away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And they finally got rehabilitated and started back up at the end of 2024.
It's good timing.
Yeah. So now you've got the Dangote refinery already running.
Okay.
You've got those state-owned refineries back online.
Yeah.
And now you've got BUA coming into the picture. That's 3 major refineries that are either producing or set to start producing very soon.
So that's really going to boost their fuel production capacity.
It's going to be a huge change for them.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
It sounds like Nigeria is going to be like a powerhouse in the fuel market.
Yeah, it's a real possibility. I mean,
Wow.
you think about it, going from having to import so much fuel to
Yeah.
potentially having extra.
Yeah.
It's a huge change.
And wouldn't that also impact global energy markets?
Oh, absolutely.
If Nigeria becomes a major exporter,
Yeah.
then it kind of changes that whole supply and demand thing.
For sure, Nigeria entering the global market could really shake things up. I mean, if they're not importing as much anymore,
Yeah.
that means other producers are going to see less demand, which could change prices,
Right.
lead to new trade deals. It's hard to say exactly how it'll play out, but it'll definitely have an impact.
Yeah, it really makes you realize how connected the global economy is.
Yeah.
One country's energy policies can have a ripple effect across the world. But let's focus back on Nigeria itself for a sec. What are some of the, potential benefits of this refinery boom?
Well, I mean, first off, you've got the potential for some pretty significant economic growth.
Yeah.
Not only could it lead to lower fuel prices for Nigerians, which would be great for their economy,
Right.
but refineries themselves create jobs.
Oh, yeah. Tons of them, right?
Yeah, you need people to build them, operate them, maintain them, all of that.
Right.
And that means job opportunities for a lot of Nigerians.
It's not just the refineries themselves, right?
Exactly.
There's all those other industries that pop up around them.
Oh, yeah, all those support industries, suppliers, transportation, logistics. It's a whole ecosystem.
Yeah, it really is.
And it creates this ripple effect of economic activity that can really transform whole regions.
It's amazing to think about.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, so more refineries, less reliance on imports, lower fuel prices, more jobs, more investment. This is all sounding pretty good.
Yeah, it does sound pretty rosy.
But there's got to be some downsides, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, there are always two sides to the coin.
Okay, so what are some of the potential downsides?
Well, one of the big ones is the environmental impact.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oil production and refining, it's no secret they have a big impact on the environment. Air quality, water quality.
And we can't forget about climate change.
Right, exactly. Increased oil production means more greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
And that's a problem for everyone.
So are they taking steps to kind of mitigate these risks?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are definitely technologies and strategies they can use to reduce the environmental footprint,
Okay.
but those things often come with a cost. So it's this balancing act,
Right.
trying to find that sweet spot between economic growth and protecting the environment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then there's also the social impact to think about.
Oh, right.
These refineries are often built in areas where people are already living and working.
Yeah.
So there's always a risk of displacement, people having to move.
Right. Or having their livelihoods disrupted.
Exactly. So it's crucial for the government and the companies involved to make sure they're consulting with those communities, making sure their rights are protected.
Absolutely. And with projects this big,
Yeah.
there's always that risk of corruption.
Oh, for sure. Anytime you have this much money flowing around,
Right.
you got to have strong oversight and accountability to make sure things are being done fairly.
Yeah, and that the project is actually benefiting the Nigerian people.
Absolutely. Transparency and accountability are essential.
So it sounds like there's some serious challenges to think about,
Right.
but also this huge potential for Nigeria.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
So let's bring it back to the BUA refinery specifically.
Okay.
What can you tell us about its potential impact on the local community there in Akwa Ibom?
Well, it's expected to create a ton of jobs in the region,
Okay.
both during construction and once it's up and running.
Yeah.
So that could really boost the local economy, improve people's lives. But there are also those concerns about the environment and the local fishing communities,
Yeah.
So it's going to be important to watch how BUA Group addresses those issues.
Yeah. It's like weighing the benefits against the risks.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting to see how they handle all that.
For sure.
But, we've been talking about Nigeria as this oil powerhouse.
Right.
What about renewable energy?
Mm.
Could they use this momentum to become a leader in that space too?
That's a great question, and I think they absolutely have the potential.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they've got tons of sunshine, strong wind resources.
So solar and wind power.
Exactly. Perfect for it.
It would be amazing to see them not just as an oil giant, but as a renewable energy leader.
Yeah, that would be a powerful statement.
But realistically, that transition is not easy, is it?
No, it's definitely not. You've got technological challenges, infrastructure limitations.
And it takes a lot of investment.
Yeah, tons of investment.
So what would it take for them to make that happen?
Well, one of the biggest things is investment in renewable energy infrastructure.
Okay, so building solar farms, wind turbines.
Exactly, and developing the grid to transmit all that clean energy.
Right.
That's where those partnerships we talked about earlier could be really important.
Oh, yeah, working with companies that have that expertise.
Right, exactly, because they might not have all the know-how themselves.
And it's not just about the physical stuff, right?
You're absolutely right.
They need people who know how to work with this technology.
Yeah, you need a skilled workforce. So investing in education and training programs is crucial.
That makes sense.
Not only does it create jobs in a growing sector,
Yeah.
but it also ensures that Nigeria can maintain and operate these systems in the long run.
So it's like a long-term investment.
Exactly.
It seems like a lot to do.
It is. It's a big challenge, but the payoff could be huge.
Yeah, a cleaner environment, a more diverse economy, and an energy strategy that's built for the future.
Right. It's a vision worth striving for. And I think considering their current momentum, they're in a good position to take it on.
So it's bigger than just oil. It's about looking ahead and seeing that bigger picture.
Absolutely. And, this transition could inspire other countries too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It could really accelerate that global shift towards a more sustainable energy future.
Wow. So this has been a really interesting deep dive into the BUA refinery and the future of energy in Nigeria.
It's a story that's still being written.
Yeah, definitely a lot more to come.
Absolutely.
And to our listeners out there, we want to hear from you. What do you think is going to happen with Nigeria's energy future?
Yeah. Do you think they can become a leader in renewable energy?
Let us know in the comments and join the conversation.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
This is The Deep Dive signing off.